If you have ever taught before, then you know the feeling. The really, really good, amazing feeling that you get when you see your students excel. Like when you teach stuff and you're like hammering it down and you're showing applications of it and you're teaching principles, and then you see your students like take that, all that knowledge and apply it in their own way and just see them like be amazing, get it, and just do it better than you do. There's no better feeling than that. Let me tell you right now, that's exactly what we're gonna see today. Hello, welcome back to the channel. Today we are looking at your photo challenge results from the month of July. So if you're watching this and you're wondering where these challenges are coming from, so on Patreon we have these monthly photo challenges that just started last month. And the idea is every single month I'm going to pose a specific challenge that is directly targeted towards a specific skill set that I wanted to improve early on in my photography career, which in turn I am imposing onto you and posing that challenge onto you so you can build that skill set faster and better than I ever did. So with that said, we also have a Discord channel as well where we're discussing photos and ideas and themes throughout all that. Now if that sounds like something that you might be interested in, I will leave a link in the description box down below. But if not, totally fine. Let's go ahead and check out all the entries. I'm gonna break down all of them and then give some extra detailed feedback on a few of them. So either way, it is a great learning experience for everyone across the board. So let's go to start with number 1. The July photo challenge was long exposure. I'll leave a link to that video over here where I talk about it completely. But basically the whole point of long exposure is to have a technique pretty much in your back pocket that you can use because it's super accessible at home. Pretty much everyone can do it as long as you have a light source and of course a camera or even a phone. Phones nowadays can do long exposure. But this technique is a complete showstopper. You definitely need to check out that video if you haven't already. The first photo comes from Mr. Jeeves or Kyle Dean. And Kyle, if you haven't already, you need to print out this photo in like a metallic print. This is a freaking work of art. It's so freaking beautiful. My goodness, my goodness, my goodness. Looks so good, it's making me slur my words over here. Okay, so this is a card from Spirit Island. I've never played that game before, but I am somewhat familiar with it. I know it's just a very complicated game with tons of really cool, unique spirits. And one of them seems to be a water spirit. My favorite part about this photo is hands down the color scheme. I love the blue and white and contrasting with the black. It's a very monotone color. I might be a little bit biased because my wall here is the same color scheme. But this has such smart composition. We have leading lines from the river, which I don't really know what that is. I don't know if that's like a gel or if that's a cardboard piece from the game. Yeah, I'm actually really interested to know exactly what that is. And I'm kind of curious to know if it's like a translucent material, if you've used a flashlight to shine like below the table, because I'm assuming this is a table with dirt on top and then that blue translucent piece with lights down the bottom, maybe? Or maybe it's just part of like the cardboard piece, like they have little white spots. But either way, I love the way leading lines are used here. It's so smart. We have a nice curve, which makes it way more interesting. And as you reach the end of it, the payoff, then you reach the river spirit, which is of course the main subject in this photo. I love leading lines here. It's so well done. I love how you filled in the little gaps in like around the riverbed with the little houses. I don't know if those are from Spirit Island as well, but if they are, that is a major plus because it's always a good practice to use more than just the card from the game. I always like using more than just one component because really, as I've been talking about on my episodes of Revamped, when you use components that incorporate more than just one thing, more than just one card, more than just one meeple, more than just one miniature, then it's more likely to sell. Why? Because publishers want to see more of their games, so this is a great opening for that premise. On top of that, the long exposure technique itself, so well done here. I love the hair-like wispiness of the flashlight that you used here. It's so nice. I love the streaks that it gives off. Usually when you use long exposure, beginners, clearly you are not a beginner here, my friend. What beginners will do is that they'll take one flashlight, one ball of light, and they'll just wave it around, and then you see only pretty much one single shape of that long exposure. Here, you get a lot of different textures and that makes it so much more interesting to see. So I love how you incorporate long exposure here. On top of that, you didn't just use it in the background, but you used it in the foreground as well to give a little highlight to the river spirit right in the beginning, and then it kind of waves in and around. The only thing I might have changed here, it's super minor, The only thing I might have changed here is, so as I'm kind of glancing at the photo and I'm looking around and following the leading lines everywhere and going to like the curves of the light, I see this little trail in the end here. From that light streak, you see that there was a sharp turn. So when you move the photo, or sorry, when you move the flashlight and you curved it really, really sharply, it kind of points in like direction towards that gap. So if the light trail kind of filled in that dark spot, or possibly if you had a subtle component that won't detract away from the main subject and kind of just insert it there to fill in that negative space, I think that would have really sealed the deal here. But either way, I think it's a beautifully composed photo. As great as it is, honestly, it needs to be printed and hung on a wall because this is beautiful. Great job. I love this fresh start to long exposure. It's so beautifully done. Great job, Kyle. And with that, let's go to number 2. All right, photo entry number 2 is from Chuon, who is speeding through the track from a game called Downforce. Now, let me say this. I specifically talked about long exposure in like how you can portray it with lights, but to do it with motion, that is another level. And I love how you use this. So showing motion in photos, let me tell you now, is not easy because most of the time people are freezing motion, right? They're not really showing elongated motion. It's not like you can't see speed in a photo. So that's why I love with the race car, you took long exposure to the next level here and really incorporated motion. I love that. This looks like maybe the main board of the game for Downforce. So we have a nice little racetrack. I don't know if you use lights in this one, but if you did, it looks really cool. Like, I don't know if there are possibly a few lights attached to the wheel, and as you moved the car, maybe it was spinning along with the wheel itself. And on top of that, I also don't know how you managed to not show your hand here unless you maybe attached some fishing line or you kind of just pushed it all the way through. But then that also leads to the next question. How did you gain focus? Tack sharp in the very beginning part of this photo here. That is a great question that I'd love to know the answer to. Another thing too that a lot of people neglect is color. So here we have a good contrast between red and green, totally contrasting colors on the color wheel. I love that. For this particular photo, I know it's a board game because obviously we're all board gamers here, but coming out of the context of board games, there's no way for me to kind of tell that this is actually coming from a board game because it looks like one of the toy race cars. It might have been helpful to incorporate maybe some tokens, some like race car tokens, or if there are other meeples, or maybe like a card even in the background, or laying in the black track over here in the background, just to show that this is from a particular board game. I think that would have really helped out with the photo as well. Also, with the car being the forefront of the photo, it would have been really nice to get a highlight of the front of the car where it's tack sharp, because instead the bright area is behind the car. And that's where your eyes are leading towards, right? Your eyes are going to automatically go towards the highlighted bright area. So instead, it would have been really helpful to incorporate that highlight in the main subject, either through Lightroom, you can put a mask on it and show some more lights, or do some more long exposure as well with lights and kind of trail it around the front of the car. But either way, I love the motion here, love the speed, I love how we're going fast. Color palette's beautiful. Great job, Chewy, for introducing motion to long exposure. Moving on to photo entry number 3. Here we have the exact kind of tonality that I always do with my own photos, and that's why this one really kicks it out of the park, hits it out of the park. Photo number 3 comes from Aaron, and I have to tell you a little bit about the story. I also definitely need to ask all of you to include your camera specs, because I think that'd be interesting for everyone to see as well. So this particular photo, Canon M50, great mirrorless lens, and the Sigma EF 30mm, love that distance, focal length, with f1.4, and here, he's also used a 6-second shutter speed, okay, with a whole crap ton of smoking steel wool. I know what you mean. When I first worked with steel wool, I honestly used like 2 whole packets of that thing. It's insane. And this game is Blood Rage, which is a game I have been dying to try out. And he sent me 2 photos here. This one in particular is probably my favorite out of the 2. I'll show the other one right after this. But let's break this one down. The landscape here, so beautifully done. I don't even know where you got this terrain from. I don't know if it's like in your backyard or somewhere. Maybe this is your backyard, because I feel like it was a cement wall. And then we have rocks from the garden maybe. And of course, doing long exposure, always safe to do it outside, especially when you're using steel wool. Now in terms of light, it looks like the backlight was with steel wool. The front might have been a tiny orange light hidden beneath the rocks right in the bottom over here. And I love how you didn't just use one miniature. I love how you used multiple minis. I think there are 3 total, 1, 2, 3, 3 side minis to complement the main monster mini. I've seen a few of your photos before, but oh my god, this one really takes the cake. I think this is my favorite photo that you've taken that I've seen so far. This is insanely good. There's so much rich storytelling here. There's like a whole on battle going on with a monster. It just looks like an epic final battle. Now I love how the shadows are dark here. I think that's great, but I would have personally lifted the shadows of the monster's face a little bit more just so I can see more details of the miniature, of the sculpt. The steel wool in the back, it helps to create some more variety, especially since it's a flame, right? So if you're trying to tell this fire themed story, you know that fire has different types of shapes and they're all over the place. Like the flame wisps are all over the place. So I think it would have been great to have different and various heights of the fire in the background. Other than that, beautiful photo, beautiful composition, such an amazing entry. Great job, Aaron. This was amazing. I loved it. It definitely is one of my favorite moves of all time, which is dark and eerie and dreary, so I love that. Now the second one also has a different characteristic. I actually like the colors here more because when I edit my photos, I like more of the red, orange, like ember looking colors versus the bright yellows in this one. Now what's cool about these photos is that they evoke different emotions. Here it's like a final battle. It's like you feel that epic score coming and you're about to literally fight the last boss. That's the feel I'm getting from this particular photo. From the second one, it feels like it's something that is suspenseful, something that is more eerie and dark. Man, all of you are seriously killing right now. Like, what the heck? These are 3 freaking amazing photos. We have motion, we have long exposure steel wool, and we have next level spirit islands with all these whips and stuff. Lights that I've never seen used before. I'm like jumbling all my words because these photos are so good. Next one is from Board Game Feast. Okay, with this particular photo, I don't know the board game is from. If I had to take a guess, I would think it is from Nemesis, maybe, because I'm seeing the background of those giant aliens, and then also in the front, I feel like I've seen these heroes before. I would assume it's from Nemesis. Either way, beautiful use of theme here. I love the green lights. I love the glowing orbs in the background. I don't know how you managed to get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different orbs in the background. But what I'm thinking is that maybe you kind of shine the light and turn off, and then shine the light and then turn off, and then shine another one, turn off. If you did, then that is an awesome use of this technique. See, like every single person so far has submitted a completely new application of long exposure. That's what's so fulfilling and amazing to see from all this creativity. You guys are so creative. If I was half as good as you guys in whatever stage of photography career that you are now, if I was a publisher, one thing that stood out for me for sure is the details that you incorporated into the miniatures. I love seeing each intricate sculpted piece. Now here's some feedback for your photo, some things that I might have adjusted if I were the one taking the shot. So I usually like doing numbers, odd numbers. And the reason for that is because it creates this triangle, right? If you have 6 figures in the front, then the focus is kind of split into the front 2 figurines, right? So instead of that, I might have just taken 1 out and just used 1 as the main focus. That's why I always use odd numbers, so you have a even pairing for the 2 that are gonna accent the 1 in front. Secondly, I love the shadow that you get of the alien in the background, but I might have increased the f-stop a little bit more just so I can see more details of the alien. So right now, you see like a blurred image. I would have loved to see more of the alien, more of like its like creepy looking features and characteristics. I think your use of green here was great because instantly when you use green, I automatically think aliens. I know it's from space, so the green light I think is perfect. However, the blue arc in the background, if that is coming from a streak of light as well, I love the shape, but I might have used a different color light, like maybe red, to contrast it, just like with the race car photo earlier. Red and green usually pair pretty well together. So red would have been nice to help give a little contrast to all the greens. But other than that, gorgeous photo. I love the colors. I love what you did with all the different lights. The way you staged the music is beautiful. Your color choices, amazing. And overall, thank you so much for submitting this, Daniel. You did a great job. Great work. Beautifully done. I want to shoot an alien themed game now too. Okay, and moving on to our last but not least photo coming from Monica from the game Shadows in the Forest. Now, I remember this particular game because the lanterns and the figures or the miniatures here are so distinguishable. I think you might have submitted this for a different photo contest in the past, but either way, I love this game. and I remember bits and pieces of it. Now the reason for that is because for me, I love revisiting older games or games that I've already shot before because you're growing as a photographer. So when you approach it again, your photos are only gonna turn out better. And I think this was way better than the last one you submitted as well because of how creative you used the glow sticks. It's super cool. So the idea here was that she's using like northern lights, and I really do feel that effect from using the green glow sticks in the background. Some photos just evoke instant emotion and imagery, and this one I get like a cutesy feel from it. I feel like it's one of those Animal Crossing-like games where they have these little creatures, little monsters that are kind of talking to each other, and not in like comprehensible language. They're kind of like where they're hopping around, you know, and like they're talking to each other in like squeaks, you know. That's the vibe, the context that I'm getting from this photo. I get a playful theme here. Despite it being dark, I get a very playful theme here, and that's particularly being used here with the lantern glowing in the center. I kind of want to buy this game now. Shadows in the Forest. Got a little distracted because now I want to buy this game too, but ultimately that is one possibly strong purpose of creating these type of photos. It's to make a hook, make a lead, make a sale, a call to action. That's literally what you're doing here. So the fact that this one photo, maybe we'll go look at Amazon and see how much it was and how cool it is. That is it, that's what drives a photo. Okay, so for some critique, here are things that I might have adjusted had I taken this photo. Let's talk about the details first because these are always important. So see here how the tree has this line down the middle. It would have been really good to line it up with the line of the board as well, just so A, my OCD is fulfilled, and B, you have that nice symmetry across the middle. So definitely try to line those up if you're trying to compose photos like this. And also, I think leaving that little bit of crop for the tree up top, it leaves me desiring a little bit more. So I would have really wanted to see the top of that tree. And then in terms of the long exposure technique itself, the glow sticks are a really great touch. But instead of waving them in like a W, what you might have considered is actually pulling them towards the camera and then pulling it back. That way, because like with Northern Lights, they're a lot of different colors and also spread across the night sky. If you wanted to emanate that effect as well here, then definitely think about pulling it towards the camera and then pulling it backwards away from the camera. I think that would have given a really nice glow to the overall photo. You create like this huge atmosphere and it gives more scale overall to the photo as well. So definitely think about that for glow sticks, and if you could also use more than one color, that would have been great too. I think your composition really nails it because I love how the monsters here are kind of peeking behind the trees, and then you have, you know, the front of the tree and you have the back of the tree and you have the center of the tree. So it's good that you're incorporating a lot of different elements and characteristics from these standees. A couple other things to consider, I think, to really tighten the composition a little bit more is to nail focus in the left monster. This one's a little bit blurry and out of focus, but maybe putting the lantern in like the corner so you kind of follow that rule of thirds in photography, and then nailing focus in that monster, it definitely would have highlighted the subject a little more, because at first you think the subject is the tree, which it possibly could be, but ideally I think the subject, like the main focus here, would probably be the little creatures on the bottom. If there is a third one, I think it would have been nice to put that one right in front of the lantern, so you are creating distances between, you know, one that's further away from the left, one that is like in the middle, and then one like right up at the lantern, kind of just staring at it. I think that might have been an interesting effect, possibly. And the last thing you might want to consider is to actually pull back. I think this one might be a little bit too close, especially if you're trying to incorporate a sky into the photo. If you are trying to incorporate like this huge atmosphere, this huge, you know, scale of a world with northern lights, then I definitely would have tried to pull back away, just so you get more of the board game and see the differences in size between the little miniatures versus the northern lights that you're trying to create in the back. With that said, if that is your very first photo for these photo challenges, you guys are all insane. For everyone watching, please tell all of these amazing entries that they did a fantastic job, because they truly did. They freaking nailed long exposure. And that leads us to month number 2. Photo challenge number 2 will be theme integration. More on that in the next video, which will talk all about breaking down what theme integration is. Thank you so much to everyone tuning in, and thank you to everyone who submitted a photo for this photo challenge. And onward we go towards photo challenge number 2.